Hi, so I can't be here today, but I am still trying to find a way I could go over some of the substitution problems with you. So I'm going to go over page 24, number 3, which was your homework that I assigned on Tuesday, due today. So please pause the video, get out your packet, turn to page 24, and also get out this sheet. Okay. So everybody should be on page 24. This was the problem that you were supposed to do. The goal was to figure out how far you could get through these steps. And today's goal would be to get farther through these steps than you got on your own on Tuesday night. So the very first step is to circle what y is equal to. These steps are made for these specific types of problems. I will change this card so that it would work for any type of substitution problem, but for now it's for these specific kinds. So this should have been your step 1. Step 2 says write the other equation down. So if we used the bottom equation for step 1, we're going to use the top equation for step 2. So I'm numbering my steps as I'm learning. So bottom equation for step 1, top equation is 2y minus x equals 3. Then it says replace y with what you circled. So in this equation, I'm going to get my answer key so I don't make a mistake. In this equation, it says 2 times y. So instead of saying 2 times y, we're going to replace y with 2x minus 6, making sure we use parentheses when we do that. So still on step 2, instead of 2 times y, we're going to do 2 times 2x minus 6. Minus x equals 3. So bring everything else down. So step 2 is complete. Step 3 is to solve. So this is from our Unit 4 chapter. It's a level 4 equation. So step 3 takes a little bit of work. So I've been doing this little bracket thing to indicate that this might require a few steps in and of itself. For an equation that has parentheses, you want to distribute first. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12 or minus 12. Bring everything else down. Then we're going to combine like terms. 4x combined with a negative 1x would be 3x. Minus 12 equals 3. Now it's a 2-step. You're going to add 12 once to each side. Can you still see this? I hope so. 3x equals 15. Divide by your coefficient to get 1x equals 5. Are we done? No, because we only have the x value. We now need to calculate the y value. Step 4, plug your answer from step 3 into either one of the 2 originals. So step 4, you can use either one of the 2 equations you were given at the beginning. I think it would be easier to work with the bottom equation, but it really doesn't matter. So at this point, we know that x is 5, so we're going to replace the x in this equation with 5. Can you see this? There we go. So you're going to do y equals 2 times 5 minus 6. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. So we have our y value, we have our x value. Now you're going to write it as an ordered pair, which is step 5. And so you should have as your solution 5, 4. This should also be accompanied by a check, which I'm not going to go over right now because I'm squished. So otherwise I'd go over it. I'm going to move this board aside. Can you please turn to page 21? 21. I would like you to pause the video. Not 21. I'm just kidding. Turn to page 20. Pause the video and then do the warm-up problems. Once the warm-up problems are done, unpause the video and I'll review them. Okay, let's see how you did. So, directions for the warm-up are to solve each equation for x. This is a new skill for 8th grade, so we just introduced solving equations with variables on both sides this year. So before we get into some other things in this unit, let's just review this concept. Our approach to solving equations: simplify, move, solve. The left-hand side is already simplified. The right-hand side is already simplified. Simplify section done. Move. Do we have variables on both sides? Yes. So what we want to do is either add or subtract an entire term so that we no longer have variables on both sides. I typically try to deal with the term that has the smallest coefficient. In this case, it is 2x. So I am going to minus or subtract 2x once on each side. I do that so that you know what I'm going to do. You do the same thing, and then it allows you to check your work against mine, remember? But there are certainly other ways to do this. 5x minus 2x is 3x. Bring down your 12. 2x minus 2x was 0, so we wind up with 3x equals 12. Turn your coefficient into a 1 by dividing by 3x equals 4. Check it in. Let's see. 5 times 4 is 20. 12 plus 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 12 is 20. Looks good. All right. So next one. This is a pretty lengthy problem. So this would be a level 5. The only thing it doesn't have in it that we've practiced is fractions, but it's still it still contains almost all of our new skills. So what is step 1? What are we going to do? We're going to simplify. So on the left-hand side, it is not simplified. We're going to distribute -3 to both of these terms. -3 times 2 is -6. -3 times -5x is positive 15x. Bring everything else down. Am I simplified all the way on the left? Yes, because I cannot combine these two terms. Am I simplified all the way on the right? Yes, because I cannot combine these two terms. So we are on our move section of our process right here. So simplify, move, solve. Do we have variables on both sides? Yes. Which one am I going to move or get rid of? I'm going to take care of this minus 1x by adding 1x to both sides. That would give me -6 plus 16x equals -22. Now it's a 2-step. So after you move, you should have either a 2-step or less. We're going to add 6 once to each side. 16x equals -16. And our final stroke is to turn this coefficient into a 1. Divide everything by 16. And you get x equals 1. Good. Now we're going to move on to the bottom of page 20. We are going to skip this section right here. It is a step-by-step approach specifically talking about 2 equations that both start with y, but I think the steps that were on page 22 would work for this just as well. So I don't want to give too many different variations. It would get, I think, confusing. So we're going to practice this specific type of substitution problem. Sorry. It's hard to do this on video, you know. It's like you're talking to yourself, you know. I'm still getting the hang of it, and I feel like it's been a while since I've done anything like this. So sorry. All right, so we are going to do number 1 together. So let's see where this lines up in our view. That looks not good. Nope, there's Mr. Cool Guy. All right. I'm not gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it. How's this? Oh, that is not where I want it to be. All right, well, it works. All right, number 1. So we have y equals 2x, and then we also have y equals x plus 5. So we have a system of equations. We're gonna try to find 2 unknowns. So we have 2 equations. Step 1 is to circle what y is equal to. So in this case, both of these equations could be used for step 1. So it doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to use the top equation for step 1. If I use the top equation for step 1, then I have to use the bottom equation for step 2. This is why I did it. That's why I made such a big deal Tuesday about that. So step 1, I circled what y is equal to. Step 2, I have to use the other equation. So I'm going to write down y equals x plus 5. Then you have to, what does it say? Step 2, replace y with what you circled. So in this equation, we are going to replace y with what we circled. What did we circle? We circled 2x. So this gets replaced, see? This comes here. Y gets replaced with 2x. And step 2 is done. Step 3 is to solve. This particular problem gives us an equation with variables on both sides. That's why we did the warm-up. So there's nothing to simplify on either side. Oh, I'm shrinking. All right. There's nothing to simplify on each side, so we are at the move part of our approach. So we are going to subtract x, or subtract 1x on both sides. This would give us 0. You can't see that, can you? Hold on a second, I'll pull the blinds. Then I'll be in the dark. I'm doing this on my phone, so I can't pause it. How's that? Probably can't see it at all. It's all right. Okay, so you're going to subtract x once on each side. This would give you x equals 5. So that's just step 3. Oh. Okay, let's come over here. Let's do step 4. Okay. So step 3, we got x equals 5. Step 4, what does that say? So good thing I'm labeling my steps because, you know, I got stuff flying around, the phone's falling. So what is step 4? Step 4 is to take your answer from step 3 and plug it into either one of the 2 originals. So for step 4, I'm going to use the top. It doesn't matter for step 4 which equation you pick. We think x is 5, just to kind of recap on that. So I'm going to put 5 in replacement of x. I get y equals 2 times 5, giving me y equals 10. Okay, one more problem. Number 2. Why don't you pause the video, try number 2, and then unpause it when most people are done or give up, and then I'll go over it. So pause it and come back. So we have, for number 2, we have decimals. Now I have to tell you, I made a mistake when I did this equation this morning, and I found it when I went to go do the check. And then I couldn't find my mistakes. It was a little bit frustrating. I almost went down to Mrs. Velarde to see her key because I was getting so annoyed that I couldn't find my mistake. I couldn't tell if it was in the check or if it was in my equation solving process. I really obviously know what I'm doing, so I was really having a hard time finding it. I'll tell you where it was though. So for this one, step 1, we're going to circle what y is equal to. I'm just going to use the top one for step 1, which means I'm going to use the bottom one for step 2. So step 2, you write down the other equation. You're going to plug in what you circled in step 1 for y. So you're going to get 1.5x minus 0.4 equals 0.3x plus 5. Now we're going to solve. So step 3, solving takes a little bit of work, a couple steps in and of itself, right? So we have an equation with variables on both sides. Both sides are simplified, so let's move our variable terms. I am going to subtract 0.3x. I'm going to put it underneath this term because they are like terms. This adds up to 0. This does not. You are going to get 1.2x when you do 1.5 minus 0.3. So check that. Minus 0.4 equals 5. After you move variable terms to one side, you now have either a 2-step or less. So that's when I draw the line here. You're going to add 0.4 to both sides, and this is where I made a mistake. 1.2x equals, I put 5.04. It is not 5.04. It is just 5.4. But do you see how there's 504? Do you see? Can you see it? I think one could understand how that mistake would happen. So you're going to divide by your coefficient to get x equals 4.5. After you find your x value, you are going to now find your y value by plugging it into one of the two originals. So I plugged it into the bottom one. Y equals 0.3x plus 5. I think x is 4.5, so I'm going to replace x with 4.5. And y equals 6.35. Step 5. The answer is 4.5 comma 6.35, and then step 6 would be to do your check. I think it's really important for you to make sure that your checks check, so now you know this is the right answer. You should practice making sure that you know how to enter both equations in and check your answer with the calculator, whatever I'm trying to say. This right here. Make sure you can do the check. Make sure the check checks. Make sure you know how to make it work. Make sure you understand it. Okay, one last one and then we'll be done. So turn to page 23. Turn to page 23. Pause it till you get there, right? Or just let it play, I guess, because I have to write this down. All right, ready? Last one with me. All right, so page 23, I have a secret to tell you. Not all of the equations have one of them written so that it says y equals. So it doesn't always work out for you that way. Sometimes you're going to have to rearrange it. Sometimes you have something like number 3 on page 23. X equals 2y plus 1. Is that what that says? Yeah. Okay. So the difference here is that your isolated variable is x, which doesn't change much. And honestly, all you really have to do, where did I do it? Is take your directions here and change the y to an x if this is your, situation. So watch what I mean. So you're just going to take this. You don't actually have to physically do it, but literally it changes. Look at it. Now it fits. Circle what x is equal to. Okay. So circle what x is equal to. That's right here. And I can do that because x is the isolated variable. Step 2, write the other equation down. Well, if I use the bottom equation for step 1, I'm going to use the top equation for step 2. Negative 4y minus x equals negative 19. This is step 2. What variable are we replacing with what we circled? If you did this correctly, it says replace x with what you circled. Replace x with what you circled. So this is going to replace x. We're going to substitute 2y plus 1 in for x. Minus, use parentheses, 2y plus 1 equals negative 19. Now, you finish the rest of the problem and then check your answer to the key with the substitute teacher that's in here right now. I left the key for the teacher. And I'm also going to leave the homework for the teacher to announce because I forget what it is. All right, have a great day. Good luck. I'll see you tomorrow.